Coming to you from the heart of the Dirty 30, it's South Alabama's #1 podcast, Drive Time with DJ and KJ.
Good Wednesday morning, hump day, the best day of your life. It's been a minute.
It's been a minute. Who taught you that?
Coach Mike Sasser taught me that a long time ago.
A long time ago. Good morning, DJ.
Good crowd in this morning. Good morning, Lori Woodard. Miss Carol Glidden's in. Good morning to you. Zandria, good morning. Tara Hardy's in. Good morning, Tara. Gina Moy's in. Good morning to you, Gina. Rob, Clobbering Rob's in. Good morning, sir. Tracy Steele, good morning to you. Hillary Emmons, good morning. Onar Robert Roberson in. Good morning to you. Jesse James rolled over. Good morning, Jesse James.
Got up early this morning.
Jill Bracken, Christina Jones, Casey Halsey, good morning to each of you. Douglas Kelly, good morning. Kim Coven, good morning to you. Ann McGraw, good morning. Kelsey Lum's in. Good morning to you, Kelsey. The Sheriff's in. Good morning, Sheriff. Stephanie White is in as well. Christy Descher's in. Good morning to you. Paula Billingsley, good morning. Misty Joyner, good morning, Misty. Lachey's in. Good morning. Rhett Joyner's in.
Retro.
Donna Mansell, good morning to you. And good morning, Kenwood.
Good morning. So before we get started, everybody needs to look and understand we are practicing our what's this new buzzword that is it social distancing? I think isn't that it?
Yeah,
social distancing.
That's one of them.
Is that going to be the new quid pro quo? We've heard that you hear for every time you turn anything on. I mean, we're going to hear that now for the like ever.
Well, don't think that I didn't notice. When I coughed about 2 minutes ago, you cut me a glare pretty quick. I'm like, hey, it's pollen, man. Pollen. Pollen has me. I'm good.
Hey, listen, I'm just trying to tell you that I was asking somebody about some of these restaurants and things they were doing about having the drive-through services and things. Mm-hmm. I was told that not at this Popeyes in Bruton, but at the one in Atmore, that a lot of the reason they instituted that policy didn't have anything to do so much with it may have had to do some with the virus, but had more to do with people had a party of about 20 at a table, and somebody over there next to them leaned over and coughed and sneezed 2 or 3 times. Everyone at the table got up and left everything on it and left.
I guarantee it. I mean, there are people that are going to react that way in and around. So you have to.
That is just crazy.
You have to watch it. Yeah.
I mean, it is crazy. I mean, I want to tell you. So I know we hear this, and the CDC is preaching this. And well, first off, let's say this: it's been a while since we've been back, and I thought it was humorous. I saw Aaron Crawford say it took a national emergency to get us to do this. I thought that was humorous, but I want to say this. Do we want to back up a little bit and start at kind of what led us where we are right now as far as this whole virus thing and if you will? I mean, we've had some pretty good discussions about this.
We've had a lot of discussions about this.
We have.
And one of the reasons that we chose to go live today and maybe here in the near future anyway, is to help qualm, hopefully at least on a local level, some of the things that are going on, try to get some good information out. We're going to have 2 great guests with us a little later in the program this morning, both from the Escambia County Healthcare Authority, and they're going to be able to speak to us with some good information, some facts, some things that we can do to help us on our journey as we work through coronavirus. But we thought that it would serve as a good public service to get out and get some good information, have a source that can get that information out there. We're looking forward to bringing that here about 7 o'clock, I think, is when the two ladies are going to show up with us. And that'll be good. But we're also going to have a good time.
So the show is getting classed up at 7.
Well, just for a short time. And then it'll run off the rails after they leave. We'll be nice while they're here.
Yeah.
And certainly enjoy the information they're going to share with us. And then we'll kind of do what we do.
And there's always this.
Hello?
I'll tell you something. If this thing, I'm going to tell you, and you think I'm kidding you.
I mean,
You think I'm kidding you. If this thing spirals out of control, and I'm
the show or the virus?
The virus. And Revelations.
The show's going to.
Yeah, the show's, that's a given. And Revelations is upon us.
Right.
And I know it's winding down. That's one of the last things I want to hear. I want to hear my children the very last, but that'll be next to last. I would have to hear that one more time in its entirety. It's ageless.
For those of you that don't know, Maury from Goodfellas.
You know, he's gone.
Hey, it's worse now.
Hey, have you seen the spring top that he's going with? I wish there was a way I could post that picture on here. I can't share a picture in the comments.
No.
I'll tell you what, go to my page, go to my personal page later. And our good friend T-Bone has gone with a new look for the summer. He's kind of relocated his work to Panama City, and I don't know what's going on.
Oh, man.
And I'm pretty sure it's velvet. It is beautiful. It is a piece of work.
It looks
now.
like one of those daggum Arabian horse manes just laid on top. I mean, listen, it right now it's worse. I mean, it's the best I've ever seen.
And I think he's done something with his contacts. You see how blue his eyes?
Listen, I thought that was for the hack, the virus. Did you see that video? The virus hack. Did you see that?
I did.
It was like 40 seconds of the most awkwardness, the most awkward time I've ever spent watching something. Because all I could see was that big Maury head.
Oh, my God.
And that big pasture on top of his head that looks like it hadn't seen a bush hog in about 5 years. I mean,
it is.
Listen.
Maury's your man. What's the phone number?
Yeah.
Just the phone.
Our phone number?
Maury's phone number.
Hold on. Let's see if we can't round that. Round that picture up. Look at there.
Classy.
Look at him. You're welcome. You welcome. Hey, I'll tell you what.
Hello?
Hey, Maury.
Hello?
How are you today?
I'm good. Who is this?
Great. This is a courtesy call regarding your wireless plan.
Hey.
Yes, this is regarding the current line I'm calling to.
Hey,
there seems to be some unusual
right
additional data charges on the account in the past week.
That guy.
No.
He's ours.
No. No.
You shut up.
Oh, man. Let's see. Listen, don't be taking up for him. Good Lord. A bunch of people jump back in. Jump back in. A bunch of people. There's Chef Adam in this morning. Good morning. You may have said.
I didn't catch Chef Adam.
There he is. Good morning, Chef Adam. Good morning, Susie Collins. It is good to be back. Welcome back. Started to play that this morning, and I thought, well, some may get that, and some may not get it.
Another day.
So good morning, Brandon Four, Jolene Atkinson, Angelique Owens. Good morning, Angelique. Gail Kurtz, Miss Gail. Good morning to you. Let's see. Well, we said Maury was already in. Blake Fountain. Good morning, Blake. Demetria Nettles. Todd Katina Purvis. Jesse James says we're piling on to piling on Maury, but that'd be fun. Crystal Moffitt. Good morning to you. Dee Dee Tinsley. Good morning to you. We ain't piling on. I was just telling the truth. I want to tell you something. I'm convinced somewhere up in there's a cure for this.
Yeah, it's got to be.
A vaccine, something. I mean, he was talking about a hack.
Good stuff.
Yeah. I mean,
good stuff.
But we can never forget our friend T-Bone.
Never will.
With 1 minute and 14 seconds left in the Iron Bowl, disappeared. Just went radio silent on us. Gone.
Pulled the plug.
He said, you can have it.
I'm out.
I got to go in here and get this do going. and get started on this and make sure my wig sales keep going like they're going, and whatever that kind of stuff. Christina Jones, hey, we have missed everyone. I think we've missed saying good morning to everyone every morning.
It's always the highlight of the show.
Yeah, really, it is. That's always a great time. Good morning, Dustin Varner. Wendy Moy, good morning, Wendy. There's Lauren Wallace. Good morning, Lauren. So let me throw something at you here real quick. And I'm not making light of this. This went out this morning, and it kind of ties in somewhat with what we're speaking of. You were just talking about Revelations. You remember back in the first part of that book, there was some plagues that was rained down on a place, right?
That's right.
Well, parts of Africa and the Middle East are bracing for a swarm of locusts that's expected to be the worst in at least 30 years. In the worst model, a typical swarm can consume in one day the same amount of food that 35,000 people would eat.
No way. Really?
I know that's
a locust. What do they eat? Everything?
Apparently, everything in sight.
I mean, are they?
They're
carnivores, or are they?
I don't know. They're basically like a flying goat. They must be if they eating that kind of stuff.
Dang.
Yeah. I got another little tidbit that is kind of interesting. What do you know about funeral? We need to have our good friend Mike Williams come on and maybe talk about this. This webinar was sponsored by the CDC. Let me preface that. The National Funeral Directors Association has suggested limited funerals to a close family and live streaming the memorial for others to watch online. They underscore it isn't because they fear the corpse spreading the virus, but rather a good social distancing practice.
I think that's a term that we all need to embrace, is social distancing. I think that's going to be used often.
Didn't we all used to call that?
Well, I tell you, let me tell you something. And
get the heck away from me or something.
And there's still the immediate future, I guess, is still unknown in terms of, what we'll be able to do and what we won't be able to do, what'll be available, what won't be available. But if by some chance the Dirty 30 Jam kicks off in July 18th, I would think social distancing is going to be a problem that night.
It's going to be a problem. And let me tell you this, right now, we have every intention of the Dirty 30 Jam kicking off on July 18th.
But we'll act responsibly
sure.
if things are going in a way that would...
Yeah, what we'll do is we'll hand you 2 beers to hold, and you can distance yourself with arm's length between the person next. No, we absolutely will be responsible about it. We don't want to do anything that's going to help spread or what have you. Speaking of that, I want to say this too about this because it of all the hype and crazy. Good morning, Rusty Miller. Christian Allen's watching this morning. Brandy Davis, good morning. Chris Malden, good morning to you. If I'm wrong, now somebody correct me, and I may be. There's absolutely may be. But I want to think there's been like 5,000-ish deaths in China.
Okay.
They have 1.5 billion people.
A lot of folks. I
mean, and from what I read, it's a lot of people that were, elderly or, had underlying medical conditions, that kind of thing. Now, I'm not trying to get off on a bad tangent. I'm just saying that's pretty good odds, man.
I would like to know what that is in comparison to other diseases, whether it be a heart attack or cancer,
the flu in this country kills 80,000-ish a year.
Yeah.
In this country, just the flu. So, I don't know. I'll tell you, I think it's widespread hysteria right now, but I know this about people in our area, in our community. They ain't gonna be able to stay inside, but for just a certain amount of time.
Shelf life.
Yeah.
Got a shelf life.
They're going to get stir crazy.
I'm excited about speaking to that.
Good morning, Tracy Miller. Biggest smile in the Dirty 30. There she is.
And speaking of the local impact, what
Good
we
morning,
see
Michelle Hutchins,
and how we live
Georgia
with
Chris.
it and how we live with it. I'm looking forward to the ladies coming in here in about 30 or 40 minutes and giving us some information. and what is going on, I never really, in my wildest dreams, imagined could happen. I'm not saying that it shouldn't have happened. I'm not saying that we are not doing exactly what we need to do. But when schools are getting shut down, seasons are being ended, you're having in some areas, you're having curfews that hadn't been put in place as far as I know in Alabama yet, but there are some of the bigger cities that are having some of that. It's just wild to think about that these are the days we're living in. My heart breaks, especially for the seniors, the young people who are going through it for the last time, whether you're in an extracurricular activity or just a student. My heart breaks that this is going on during their senior year. Who knows if it'll be continued at a later time? I don't know. That's just tough. That's tough.
Good morning, Shannon Stillwell, Roger Templeton, Eric Bailey. Good morning, Eric. Edie Kelly, good morning to you. Penny Holmes, good morning. I agree, and it's sad, but let's be honest, we're in uncharted waters right here.
Well, sure we are.
So, we really don't know day to day, like today. We don't know what may hit or come out. Or I'm going to say this. I've been saying this, and I've been saying this to you for months. Since this all kind of broke out. If they come out with a vaccine for this thing, basically it would have been about 2 months that this country has been working on it. It would appear to be.
Mm-hmm.
The first question I'm going to ask is this: if you come out with a vaccine for something that's a worldwide pandemic, the likes of which nothing have been seen since 1918 when influenza hit, you're going to tell me we can't find a cure for cancer?
Makes you wonder, doesn't it?
I mean, it's crazy. Chef Adams said you got to get ready for work. Speaking of that, they got it set up where you can call in down at Camp 31, and they'll bring food out to you. They want to make sure it's hot, and may take a little bit more to, get it ready, but it's certainly a service that a lot of our local businesses are doing and offering right now. And I will say we need to make sure I know everybody's told to stay in, but get out and keep shopping local, because trust me, it all makes a big circle. It all makes a big circle. We talk about the seniors and of course the schools and people that are affected by this, but think about, all of the local businesses that, when you get told to go home and don't go to restaurants and don't go to this, don't go to that, a lot of people impacted. So I know David's Catfish is doing a drive-through service as well.
Danny Smith at the Pizza Hut.
That's right.
As a skeleton crew working, but you can access the drive-through, and they have an app that you can order off of as well. But
Good morning, Sherry Weaver.
A lot of our local restaurants are doing that and trying to make the best of a tough situation.
Yeah, and here's the thing: let's help them make the best of it, because I can tell you that it takes a lot to keep a business going, much less one in these kinds of times. And there are people out there that, especially, in the restaurant business and things such as that, that depend and live on, tips and things, and so let's just make sure that we don't social distance ourselves so much that we forget about that. And speaking of that, Jesse James said Tallulah Bells will now deliver in the Bruton and Atmore area. Wow. That's crazy.
You can't beat that.
No, you can't beat that at all. That's a great point. Edie Kelly made. Need to keep checking on our neighbors and maybe give a little cash for those that are not working. That's a good point. And speaking of cash, did you see where the administrator? No, I'm not talking political. I'm just talking about what they're talking about putting out another stimulus package.
I saw that.
They made a mention of like $1,000 check per American.
I saw that.
What's your, and I'm asking your opinion on, do you think that, when at a time when everybody's being told, stay home, don't go anywhere, don't do this, don't do that, is it time to be sending money out like that? Or do you?
I'm really not qualified to answer that, because I don't understand economics on that level.
Well, I don't either.
I don't know what it does long term. to us. And so
I have no clue either. I guess
I know this. I don't want people to suffer.
Right.
Whether it's individuals, whether it's businesses, whatever has to happen to keep that to a minimum, I'm for.
That's right. And I agree.
I don't care who proposes it.
I don't care. No, I
don't care who proposes it.
Me either.
If we can keep the suffering to a minimum, I'm in.
We, I can tell you what would probably be as good as that to a lot of people. And I can say, I see, and we deal with credit banks and businesses every day. Come out and say, look, you ain't got to make your house payment for 3 months.
Yeah, sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
Or you know, your car payment, that kind of thing. So, that kind of stuff in my opinion, makes a difference.
Sure.
I'm not saying $1,000 doesn't make a difference. I'm just saying, if there's anyone too scared to get out,
one of the things that I think
that's a great point, Sherry Weaver. Thank you.
One of the things that, that we're going to try to do over the next several days as we have programming is have different people on to talk about what is happening from a factual standpoint, not perception, not hearsay.
Good morning,
we're going to start today with two from the medical community, healthcare community. Hope to have somebody on from the city to talk about, services and how they're going to continue. I saw a post from Chief Salter yesterday, and I shared it on my personal page about what he and his guys will be doing, and be rest assured that if things are happening in an emergency standpoint, they're going to respond. I mean, it's not like they've been cut back. They're not shutting down. So all the vital services will continue, whether it be police protection, fire protection, paramedic service, things along those lines. And we look forward to visiting with as many of those as we can over the rest of this week and into next week to reassure. I mean, I think when people get some reassurances, I think that helps the economy.
Well, sure.
If you feel like we're going to be okay through this, and we will.
Yeah, consumer confidence is there.
Right.
A serious question. How many packs of toilet paper did you buy?
I'll be honest with you.
Have you
I'm under the impression there's not a food shortage, and there's not so my shopping habits have not changed. I shop for the week on Sunday, and I'm going to go this Sunday, and of course, that's so. I've not been one of those that have just stockpiled. I have enough, and hopefully they'll be there more Sunday when I go again. Okay. If not, I may be coming over.
Let me ask a little more in depth.
Okay.
How is social distancing going and being handled in the Red Room? And I'm sure all of us would love an update on Tatiana.
Well, in a weird way, I somewhat feel responsible for, I mean, after it went poorly at the port.
I remember that.
Okay.
Yes.
All of a sudden, this mysterious virus shows up after the fact.
Do you think maybe that could have been tied to that somehow?
I don't know. The whole thing was a mess.
The Russians.
I'm glad it's behind me.
Wasn't she Russian?
She was supposed to be.
Or Slovakian or something?
Well, she was also supposed to be 6'4", and I looked her eyeball to eyeball through the crate. So it was a mess. It was. But to answer your question about the Red Room, I came in and put in some partitioning and have made a section of it a decon room. So you can go there.
So you can decontaminate.
Good ventilation. So yeah, there have been some precautionary measures.
Does it look like ET? You walk in a chamber and all this smoke and stuff comes down and just sprays you down, and then
I'm gonna tell you, if you ever walk upstairs at my house, just make sure you go left. If you go right, I'm not responsible.
Oh, 6'4", 210.
Hey, go left.
Oh, she looked like she put you in the figure 4 leg lock and tear you up. There she is. Good morning, Temple Kinley.
Guess what Temple did last night?
I saw that she went to a Pick-Me show.
She's only been home for about an hour.
Hey, I love it. And let me tell you why I love that, because that is a classic that they're still out there rocking. And
Still a free world.
Best I can tell, and I don't know the man, but the governor of Florida said that all these nightclubs and bars and what have you ought to shut down at 5 o'clock yesterday for 30 days. I think the pig said, "Nah, we coming to play."
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And,
Do it.
And so I think I don't know if any of y'all get to follow Cam on social media, but you ought to. It really is. He's in the third meltdown now.
Yeah.
The one I watched the other day.
Yeah.
From the hotel room.
Oh yeah.
That was good.
Yeah.
I loved his effect. His what red alert? Red alert.
Yeah. I saw
Danger,
that.
Will Robinson. So, oh man. Anyway, so I can say this, and I think most people watching may feel the same way. Maybe you don't. And comment and let us know. Has your life changed? Have you changed anything other than some of the things around you that you don't have any control over? But has anything changed about what you do? Day I can tell you, nothing's changed as I do.
Not really. I do. This time of the year, I love to go to the ballpark, whether it's a rec game, a high school game, or a college game. I miss going to the ballpark, and a lot of it has to do with the concession stands. But yeah, I miss the ballpark.
Well, all right. So you mentioned that. Let me ask this question: Are you, if there is a mud run this year, are you running?
Yeah.
Okay.
Try to win it.
Number two, are you still holding it around that 185?
No. You know, one of the things that happens with these self-contained quarantines are snacks. And I was guilty of a lot of people that I've read. I got through the snacks pretty quick. So there's some workouting. So I need to work out and get back to where I was last year. If I can do that, I think I will. Then I kind of want to win that thing. My age division. I don't want to go out there and beat those 20-somethings, but yeah, I'd like to win my age division.
Well, I think you got a pretty good shot. You've ran it the last 3 years, 2 years?
They've had it 2 years. I've been in both of them. Yeah.
So that's another question. That event is scheduled in? It's
in June. June is when it's scheduled for.
So,
and who knows? You know, I hope that. I don't know how far out you have to make the call on things like that.
You know, I know with what we were watching. You know, I mean, it's just kind of all up in there.
Yeah, I saw last night on the news that the state of Kansas suspended K through 12, all K through 12 state funded schools for the remainder of the school year.
Yes,
they've shut it down.
You know, I'm not making any what do you call it? Predictions, but I will say that I wouldn't be surprised if you don't see that nationwide.
I wonder what that does to you, like from an academic standing.
Well, I asked that question, and I was told that everything that if you're on a 9 weeks thing, I think which most our area schools are, they would take the body of work through the ending of this last 9 weeks.
Yeah. And
that's how they would move forward.
Wait, now say that again.
You know, the report cards come out every 9 weeks. So I'd asked the question, how would that work? And I was told that they would take, instead of maybe 4 9-week periods, there were 3 already.
Yes.
And this one would have been the last one.
Right.
So they would take these 3 9 weeks body of work, and there wouldn't be a fourth.
Well, I just wonder. So there wouldn't be a grading period for the fourth. Would you still get credit for the core classes to graduate and have your full credit?
It's my understanding, yes. Now, somebody can come on here and tell me how wrong I am.
Well, what about those of us who were so dependent on summer school? I mean, what happened?
That's where I was about to go. You know, what happened to the days like that? Wouldn't you have loved? I mean, I saw a good one. It said that this, you know, all the people having to stay inside, this social distancing, about 13 years from now, they're going to be the quarantines. Going to be hitting the street. Well, you know, I'm just not. I'm not sure. I mean, I know that you can if you read, everybody says April 6th is when our area or our area schools are supposed to go back to school.
April 6th?
April 6th.
Okay.
So, outside of that, there's really been no other.
Well, if they can make that work, then it would be just a minor inconvenience because we were scheduled for a week of spring break.
That's right.
And then as it stands now, we're going to miss an additional week. Is that right?
That's correct. But there is no extracurricular activities. They're canceled for the year.
Yeah.
That's done.
Yeah.
Is the same with Rec League as well?
Rec League is suspended indefinitely. I don't know that the plug's been pulled at the Y. But, a lot of this, and of course, I think this goes in every sector, this is a fluid situation.
Well, sure.
The ladies we're going to meet with here in just a minute, I was talking to Chris Griffin yesterday, and he said they met last Friday and had a plan in place on Friday of what they were going to do moving forward in an operation sense at the health clinics. And then by Monday, as the information had changed nationally, their plan, of course, changed. So it's a fluid situation, and being able to get good information is going to be important. And for the most part, you can get it here.
Yeah. Well, and speaking of good information, I can't think of anything better than right now, because everybody's got one, and yours is always the best.
Yeah.
You know what time it is.
Game time.
So, going into this segment, I want to say this. Tom Brady has left.
Is that wild?
The Patriots.
I think he's all but inked with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think it's basically a done deal.
$30 million
That's wild.
a year.
That's wild.
And
20 years.
The Pats.
20 years.
The Pats offered him 13.3. And how many Super Bowls? How many rings do he have with them?
He has 6. And he played in 3 others.
Right. So
20 years.
Wow.
No income tax in Florida.
They pointed that out when I was reading that last night. So anyway, I didn't mean to ask you about the poll because I knew you had one.
I've got one.
So let's hit it. Let's see where is this poll going to take us? We'll start number 5.
I do, but I want to say this.
Okay.
This poll, and I want to be fair to all the people who had ran the course, and this is going to be the college basketball final poll.
That's fantastic. I love it. And please tell me that unlike Florida State, you're not going to name them national champions like the Florida State Senate did.
No, but they're in the top 5.
I would think they should be.
Yeah.
So here we go. Number 5.
First of all, I'm a fair guy.
Always have been.
And I have Michigan State finishing up at number 5. They lost several games during the middle of the season. They were preseason number 1 last year in the Final Four. So the last completed season that we had, the only body of work we can really evaluate off of was what they did last year. And since they were going to qualify for the tournament, we're probably going to be a 5 or 6 seed. I've got them at number 5, my final poll.
I think that's solid.
Texas Tech was in the Final Four last year. They faded away. They were a one-hit wonder. Virginia, kind of a middle-of-the-road season. I got them a little further down as well. But Michigan State, number 5.
Number 5.
I have
number 4.
Florida State Seminoles.
The Seminoles.
You can't take away the season they had.
Good morning, Jesse Rigby.
I think the Florida State Senate jumped the gun just a little bit. I get it. There's another school that does it regularly.
Well, let me tell you this. I was about to point that out, and I want to make mention of this as well. Now, I agree with the Florida State Senate when they named the UCF Central Florida. They earned that national championship. They did. So I agree with them.
Florida State, number 4.
Number 4, Florida State. Here we go. Number 3.
This won't be a popular pick. The Dayton Flyers. One of the best young coaches in the country. Anthony Grant.
I love it.
Any college university would be lucky to have Anthony Grant as their head basketball coach.
That's a fact.
And if you ever get him, you should hold on to him.
I know a little team that had him one time.
Man. Just saying.
Number 3.
That was 3.
Number 2.
A little bit of a homer pick. I love the SEC. I cheer for every team in the SEC. They played us off their feet and lost. We played them off their feet once and lost. Kentucky Wildcats, Coach Cal.
Yeah,
two.
That's not. You can't argue with that.
We're probably going to be a 3 seed.
Yeah.
If they had gotten it seeded.
Yeah.
They were going to lose the SEC championship in the tournament, but they were going to. I have them number 2. Can't penalize them.
And everybody's waiting on this one. The number 1 team in the nation. You're
defending national champions, the Auburn Tigers.
There you go.
Back to back.
There you go.
That's fair.
I listen, I don't think that you could have been any more fair if you tried not to be fair. And again, this has been the top 5 poll. Everybody's got one.
Everybody's got one.
Now they count more than ever. Tomorrow we'll have a poll that may be even more interesting than just that. You never can tell. That was interesting, though. Let me ask you this. If you make it to the NIT,
which is,
does that count?
The NIT.
Yeah, that's like, summer league.
Oh, anybody can go to it, or is it?
It looks like
your way in?
It looks like anybody can go to it.
Yeah, that doesn't count for anything.
Okay, I just wanted to ask. So, I was just curious, where and how that went.
I do have a concern along those lines, and this is a legitimate concern.
Okay.
I was thinking about this.
All right.
The information may be out there, and I have missed it, but I have not seen anything concrete yet with regards to college athletes and if they are able to get this year of eligibility back. Basically talking about winter and spring sports.
Right. I have
softball, track, baseball. Is this going to count, or are they getting it back, a do-over? But here's my bigger question. Let's just say that junior college, Division II, Division I, all these athletes get a do-over, which I'm for. I think that's fine. That's fair.
Sure.
If they all get a do-over and the high school athletes don't, then where does that leave the high school seniors that are graduating? Where are their opportunities going to be? With scholarship limits, with positions on a team, all these seniors were going to sign to fill spots of people who were moving on, and if that doesn't happen, what happens to them?
I know, and I've looked all over, and I've not found anything on it. Good morning, Mac Baxter, Matt Knoll, Red. Good morning, Matt.
Morning, Red.
Miss Judy Crane. Good morning, Miss Judy. Jacob Salter, Ashley Bush. Good morning, Ashley. Lisa McGraw, good morning to you. There she is. Chevy Ann. Good morning, Chevy Ann. Krista Book.
Morning, Booker.
She
just says here that she's hearing that seniors will get another year. Well, that would create the logjam that I'm talking about.
That's right.
So all these high school seniors who have committed or signed,
what happens?
What happens?
And another thing, and you've got obviously Lindsay. Was she going into the 6th grade?
She'll be in the 6th grade.
Okay. If school is out for the remainder of the year, if that happens, now we're not saying it is, we're saying if that happens, okay? If that happens, then it's on us as parents, and thank the good Lord I got a teacher for a wife, to get our kids ready for the next grade, because let's be honest, the last part of the year, a lot of times is where you kind of wrap things up and move to move on. Of course, you and I were probably moved on a few times just to get out of.
It's called social promotion, Ken.
Winning.
That was before Common Core.
Right. That's what I was going to say. And that was way before No Child Left Behind.
Yeah.
Coach and them just kept moving us up out of defense. Pure defense. But, I'm curious, and while we're on that subject, let's talk about something you and I talked about earlier in the week, which is this. What are we going to do? What are these children going to do that the couple meals they eat a day as breakfast and lunch at school, or with the city school system, lunch at school? I know I've seen the post. I'm sure you have. I think maybe you may have shared. I know we talked about it. The backpack buddies are looking for immediate food and monetary donations. I think monetary would be better only because of the type of food that they provide. I don't know that you can just go and buy whatever to do that, but they're looking to try to fill that void, if you will, for a lot of kids. And when you hear, well, the schools are going to be making lunches and that kind of thing. My issue there is that's well and good, but a lot of these kids ride the bus to school, that kind of thing. How are they going to get there to eat it?
That is a concern. We talked about this, and of course, I've seen several posts on Facebook. People have it on their hearts and on their minds as well. And I hope that part of it can get figured out also, in addition to the X number of things else we're trying to work out logistically and schematically. But
good morning, Danny Smith.
Children eating has to take place somehow, some way.
Yes. Well, it does. And I'm going to tell you, if it goes that we need to work to help gather up a conglomerate of people or of volunteers that would help deliver food to these children and kids and that definitely need it. I can tell you right now, I'll be happy to sign up to do that anytime that I could help.
Well, I think that's hopefully one of the byproducts of this program. We love to come in and have a good time, try to keep things light somewhat. There's nothing wrong with laughing every now and again. This is serious days we're living in, serious problems we're working through, and we're gonna a part of that. And we've mentioned a couple of times we're gonna have two guests coming in about 20 minutes. Ashley Strawbridge and Debbie Gist, I think. They're going to be from the Escambia County Health Authority. They're going to give us good information, things that we can keep in mind, things that we can bank on moving forward in terms of how we make our decisions, how we work through the day. But we all have to understand it will remain a fluid situation.
That's right.
What is good information today may not be good information tomorrow or the next day.
That's a fact.
We're going to try to do our part to get as much good information out to our community to keep our suffering to a minimum. One of the things that was drilled into my head over and over again back in my EMA days was those individuals and those communities that can prepare.
Have a good one, Sharman.
That can prepare for tough days will suffer less. And that's one of the things we hope to do through being back on in the morning is getting some information out there from different entities. So if you have something that needs to get out and your entity plays a part in the recovery or response to this situation, we would love to help share it, promote it, and get it out to all our people. So once again, our suffering's at a minimum.
That's a fact. Let's see what JP says right here. At this point, no school in Escambia County will be serving lunches. We got numbers from other areas that were doing the food program for those areas and only 1 to 2% participating. So at this time, it wasn't a good idea to do it. And here's my thing with that. Yeah. Hey, listen, I'm not is Tracy.
We usually write on paper towels.
Right.
Save that.
I know. I was going to say, she's an OG because she definitely saw what we were doing. We don't have scripts, but we always have some paper towels or some tissue or some toilet paper to write on. We're trying to conserve toilet paper. Maybe we ought to line the front of this desk with toilet paper tomorrow. We might get mobbed though.
Tell you what.
I don't know if that's a good idea or not.
Our location's undisclosed.
Yeah, we're in the bat cave. You have to look for us. I don't know if we need to say that. We'd like to get bum rushed over here. I mean, you know what I'm saying? But no, I'm telling you.
Is the gate open?
I think Dallas or one of them's out there.
We'll be okay.
Yeah, we're all right. Look, so Lori says in Butler County, their schools are serving breakfast and lunch, pick up only.
Well, there you go.
Well, and so here's the thing. Where's your water jug, DJ? You know what? I didn't
even think about that.
I didn't either, but I'm going to tell you this. You might want to social distance yourself from that thing.
Man. Oof.
That thing saved a few miles, hadn't it?
That's high mileage.
But need to find one. or find it. I mean, I tell you what we do have, and it's laying right over there.
I see him.
And
he was in earlier. Did you see him in earlier?
I did. I was going to say, has the Wee's been in?
Yeah, he's been in.
Yeah. Well, raffle off toilet paper for backpack buddies. I don't think they, I'm not sure, but is the toilet paper rush over?
I don't know.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, Chris Tucky, I'm sending in Tony.
He'd go. He's a gamer.
He's a gamer. Listen, all you got to do is tell him to go in there and tell him that he's fixing to start scratching his head, and when he does, the corona is going to fall out all over the floor.
Well, get this. This is as hot a news flash as you can get.
Well, hey,
and it's not.
Hold on. Let me do this. If we got a news flash, then we got to get some news. We got to get some news music going. If I can, here we go. News flash.
Tony Burnham, our friend. This is not happening in our backyard, but it's right down the road. He is on a construction site in Panama City. Just called and informed by his employer that a person or persons have tested positive in Panama City Beach. They've shut the job down.
A person on the job site or just somebody in PCB?
Somebody in PCB.
Well, here's my deal with that, okay? It's kind of like what we've been saying. People are going to get this, but it doesn't mean that it's a terrible thing. How many people get the flu every year?
Well, that's what I'm looking forward. When our nurses get here, those are some of the things that I want to be cleared up from a professional standpoint.
Sure.
The way I understand it, and I'm looking forward to getting clarification on this, I can be a carrier.
Good morning, Renee. We're glad to see you.
I can be a carrier.
Jeff Booker, Kenneth Waters, good morning.
But I may never get sick.
Sure. It's like mono.
Yeah.
I mean,
I've had mono.
Remember the old kissing, what do you call it, the kissing disease?
Yeah.
But some people had mono and had it where it put you down.
Yeah. It put me down.
Yeah, well, it did me too. But I know people that have it, that never had a symptom, but they carry it. Well, they call it asymptomatic.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what that means. I just heard that word. It sounds good.
Sounds real good.
It sounds real good. So, anyway, I was, look at there. There's Raj. Good morning, Raj. I'll tell you something. Have you had a chance? I've not been in it yet. Raj has invited me on a tour. I've not been able to go because I'm practicing social distancing as well as a lot of other things at this point. Have you seen the pictures of inside the hotel?
I have.
Is that thing fine?
Nice.
I'm going to tell you something.
Very nice.
I hope that we can put the Dirty 30 Jam on for one reason. I want people to come stay in that
that's
thing.
Nice.
That's
nice. Much needed.
Good morning, Jordan Rowland.
Are they open?
They are not yet, but soon.
Okay.
Real soon.
They're getting real close.
Yes. Look at there. Lauren Wallace said she had mono with no symptoms. And here's the thing. They say that this virus is the exact same way. That you can have this virus and have no symptoms. Be a carrier. And I'll tell you this too. I think from reading from the CDC, I think this was out in the fall.
Okay.
Think of how many people I'm one of them. I had 2 flu tests. I tested negative both times, and I'm telling you, I had a fever. I had every symptom of the flu you could have. And I tested negative twice. I was told, I'm not telling anybody's business, but I don't think he would mind. I was told Joey Shell. Joey Shell was mad as a wet setting hen at Keith Horton because Keith had tested positive for the flu, and he felt fine. And Joey, he had tested negative, and he was on, according to Keith, he was on death's doorstep.
Do you take a flu shot every year?
Yes.
Have you always done that?
Yeah. Well,
I mean,
every year that since Jessica's been a teacher.
Okay.
Yes. Now that's a toss up.
Yeah.
Every year.
Yeah.
I want to go back to something too before our guests get here. You and I the other day had spoke about your days as EMA director.
Yes.
For the Escambia County.
Mm-hmm.
In talking, I thought about our conversation the other day that we had in talking about some of the. I was amazed when you threw out the number of volunteer fire departments to me.
Yeah.
That was amazing. Are those all active?
Yes.
That is amazing, and that's just in our area.
That's in Escambia County.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
Yeah,
I mean, it really is. Does that not?
Oh.
Maybe I shouldn't be so. I mean, is that not an impressive number?
It is. It is an impressive number. But the thing that was more impressive to me is they are, and we're saying that to say this: they are a tremendous resource in times of emergency. You know, if we ran into a situation where we were having to get food out to the masses, my idea would be to run it through the volunteer fire departments because they know their communities and they know where the needs are. Now, it's one thing if you have 25, 26, 27 volunteer fire departments, but you only have it for designation purposes, for insurance purposes,
Right.
and for
Right.
tag purposes.
Right.
But it's another when you have 26 or 27 who will roll up their sleeves and get out there and get in the middle of it.
Get after it.
And that's what we have.
Sure.
That's in addition to the paid departments with you have Bruton, Flomaton, Atmore, and Porch.
Right.
And then you have all these other volunteer fire departments that fill in the gaps. And we have coverage. I can promise you we have coverage in Escambia County.
Well, that was an amazing number when you threw that out to me. And I got to tell you, that's just if that doesn't warm your heart to let you know about how that is tremendous. I mean,
Here we are.
really
Here we
is.
go. All right.
Hey, come on in.
Come on in.
We
Let me
about
get a
to-
chair pulled up.
y'all- about to-
Hold on. Y'all just sit tight. Our guests are here.
Yeah, they're about to class this place up right here.
Slide this.
Let's see here.
Ashley,
Yes.
this is Ken. I'm David. Who else wasn't somebody else coming?
Debbie.
Debbie.
Kiss.
Debbie. Yeah, Debbie.
Let's see. You can have. I'm Ken.
Okay.
Nice to see you.
You too.
Do you want? And then you may not. Do you care if you can hear, or does it matter? Okay. All
This is
right.
all new to me.
Well, as always,
You and I share this.
Okay.
That's the number of people that are watching right now.
Okay.
That's live, and they're making comments, and we're kind of talking about some things. We
Okay.
were waiting for y'all to get here to share the statistical information and what all we can do to be smart and work through it. So, tell you what,
yeah. Now we've got experts here. Okay.
I want to get her title right. This is Ashley Strawbridge,
Right.
and Ashley, you are the Director of Infection Control and Employee Health at Atmore Community Hospital.
Correct.
That is correct. Chris Griffin kind of put us all in contact with each other. And one of the things that we do here on Drive Time is we try to be community service oriented. We try to have programming. Number one, we have a good time. We also understand the seriousness of the days we're living in right now with coronavirus. And we wanted to get some people that could come in and speak to it with good information, things that we can do to protect ourselves, to try to keep the sickness part of it beat back as best we can. If you will, just in general terms, talk a little bit about coronavirus, where we are at in terms of Escambia County, in terms of what we're doing and what our protocol needs to be.
Okay. Coronaviruses have been around for a while, but this is a new coronavirus. So that's why it's so out there in the news and causing us so many problems right now. Nobody has any immunity to this virus because it is new.
Okay.
So that's why it's spreading through the population like it is. We really want to right now do social distancing. We want to avoid crowds. You don't want to shake hands. You don't want to hug folks. You want to try to keep 6 feet apart if at all possible. And the 6 feet rule, people may not realize, is because coronavirus is spread by coughing, by sneezing, by large droplets. So if you're 6 feet away from people, usually if you're coughing, those droplets have time to fall to the ground and not infect you. You don't breathe them in if you're the other person. It can also be spread through touch. So you want to be sure that you're not shaking hands, you're not hugging.
So if DJ and I were to start coughing and sneezing and snotting all over the place right now, you're probably going to get up and run out of here.
Yes. Yes, I would.
Let me ask you this question, Ashley. And of course, we have a lot of folks from GP watching with us. Good morning, guys. Can I be a carrier of coronavirus and never get sick? Or am I ultimately going to get sick if I have it?
And he's not talking about the beer.
Right. Right.
With him, you have to clarify some of those things.
That's right.
COVID-19, you mean?
You're right.
Okay. A lot's not known about this virus because it is so new, but it is thought that you can spread the virus before you actually show symptoms. And some people don't show many symptoms at all, so they may not even realize that they're sick. Especially the very young, they don't seem to be affected as much by the virus, and so they may, carry on as normal and actually have the virus, and they can spread it at that time.
We have a question from the gallery here. Raj wants to know, how about sweat from bald heads? And I guess he's asking for a friend.
Go ahead and say it, Raj.
I don't know if that is this much like the flu, like they say it is. As far as everything we read says it's the flu light, if you will. But I just told the story, and I may be wrong, but when in January I thought I had the flu, and I went and had 2 flu tests, and both were negative. Mm-hmm. And I would have told you that I had fever, I had everything, and felt like the flu will make you feel. And I never tested positive, so I don't know what that was. I can't say it was that. I don't know it was that, but I'm saying, I've heard a lot of those stories from people that tested negative and had those types of symptoms. So is that something that is more in our minds, or is that something that have y'all seen that as well? That
people had symptoms but tested negative for the flu?
Yes.
We have, but that's not completely uncommon, even in other years. Flu tests aren't 100% reliable by any means.
Yeah,
so
just a hair, if you don't mind. That way they can hear you.
So it's very possible to have the flu.
There's a lever under there. It'll go down for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
That'll help a little.
There you go.
So it's very possible to have the flu but not test positive on the test.
Okay. Maybe that's what
I've heard the same, and some people have asked, could I've actually had it and not known it, and I don't know the answer to that.
Well, and one other quick question, and I'll let David move on with you. Are you kin to David Strawbridge?
Through marriage, he is my husband's first cousin. I guess y'all know Dave. Huh?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we know David. Yeah, for sure. So no, and I'm picking it. If he happens to see this, I'm picking it, David. But good guy. I was just curious. That name's not that common,
right?
So I figured Atmore. I figured it had to be some. Anyway, I'll let the interviewer get back to doing what he does best.
One of the things, you and I and Chris talked yesterday on the phone, and one of the things that we kind of set up here before you got here is how fluid this situation is, how quickly information can change, protocol can change. I think Chris mentioned that last Friday you guys had a staff meeting and kind of had a plan moving forward, and then on Monday, new information was presented, which kind of redirected y'all in some areas. How often are y'all in on conference calls? How often are y'all getting information that does change the course of what we need to do and how we're going to work through this?
We're on calls between Atmore and D.W. McMillan daily. Right now, the Alabama Hospital Association is having biweekly calls on Tuesdays and Fridays at 10:30. And we have a chance to hear from Don Williamson, who was the former medical officer for the state, and now he's with Allaha. It's all the other hospitals, so we get to ask questions, we get to share information with them, see what they're doing, what problems they're having, and so it's constantly being updated. They also send us a snapshot most afternoons that give us new information that we need to know.
From what you're hearing for people who are being treated with it in other states, other areas that have it, how long is the incubation period? Are they sick for a week? Are they sick for 2 weeks? What is the timetable one can expect if they succumb to it?
About 2 weeks. If it's just a normal course is what I'm understanding.
Is that 2 weeks in a hospital? Is that 2 weeks at the house with meds, or is it kind of are we just kind of finding out as we work through it? One of my concerns, and I'm sure you guys have discussed this at length, is resources being overwhelmed. I mean, there's only so many hospital beds. There's only so many doctors' offices that you can get into at one time. If all of a sudden the masses show up, then what?
Right.
And I guess that is the need or the importance of social distancing to keep those numbers down just from a resource standpoint.
Exactly. That's exactly what they're trying to do. They're trying to slow the spread down so that we don't overwhelm our systems all at once. For most people, especially the young people without chronic health conditions, you're going to be able to stay at home. You're just going to take your Tylenol. You're going to, treat the symptoms because there is no medication for it. Okay. So you're going to stay home, treat the symptoms. But there will be those that are older or have chronic health conditions that are going to require ICU care or ventilators. And that's what we're trying to do, is avoid those systems being overwhelmed.
So my question, and I've seen this asked a couple times here now, if the flu test, if it's not 100% reliable, I guess the really only way I know how to put it, if it's not 100% reliable, then how do we know that the testing for this virus now is going to be 100% reliable?
And I can't answer that because I'm not a lab technician. So
that's a
difficult question. Sure. Yes.
Well, okay. 2 weeks ago, I was told by a doctor locally. Last week, we didn't have testing. That was last Wednesday, as a matter of fact. I understand Friday that we did receive testing or ways to test. Do you know what the actual logistics is on that? I mean, is there plenty of tests in Escambia County to?
There is actually, and instead of tests, we say collection kits because we don't run the actual test in Escambia County. Testing is done through some private labs. It's also done with the Alabama Department of Health in Montgomery.
Okay.
So we right now have limited collection supplies.
Right.
So you're not going to be able to just go to your doctor. You can't just go to the hospital and say, I think I need a test. You're going to be symptomatic. Your doctor's going to do an assessment, and then he's going to determine if you've truly, been in contact with somebody that's been sick. Have you traveled outside the state? What are your symptoms? And then he would decide whether or not to collect a specimen and send it to the reference lab or to the state lab.
What are you seeing like yesterday in our medical clinics? Is it normal traffic given this time of the year, or are you seeing
tight quarters here, Tim?
Seeing a few more people, more people show up, or what are you seeing?
We're getting told we're supposed to be sitting 6 feet apart, and I'm just tight quarters here.
This is true.
Yeah.
Not a whole lot more volume, but we are seeing, people come in with respiratory symptoms, and we're taking precautions and actually separating those patients from our other patients that don't have respiratory symptoms and kind of triaging those apart, treating them in a separate area so that we don't get anybody sick. We're going to mask those people when they come to the hospital to protect our staff, the other visitors, and then...
Can you clear up it seemed like what we were understanding may have caused a little upheaval and something to do with a tent or something out in front of the hospital in Atmore. Is that what we were told, DJ? That
I think Chris said something about there was one out there for different reasons, but people saw a tent on the grounds and thought it was, extra triage or whatever it was. And that's just kind of how, how when rumors get started and people see things.
We're trying to tamp those down.
Right.
That's why we're asking the question.
We appreciate that. Yeah. There is a tent out there, and what's going to happen is if you come to the hospital, you'll be screened. We'll take your temperature.
Is this just for this? If you go to the hospital, period, or is it just if I tell you what my symptoms are, I'll be directed there?
If you go to the hospital, period, you're going to come through that one entrance. We've narrowed it down to only one entrance. And We are
Now, if
not
you come
allowing.
up with chest pains, you're going to go right on.
You're going to go to the front
sure,
of the line.
Right.
Right. We're not going to slow down anybody that's critical, that needs care, and
Sure.
we're not trying to discourage care, but we're trying to keep those people that are in our building safe. So you're going to be screened. We're not allowing any visitors right now unless it's actually needed for patient care. So if you're involved in, have an elderly parent that needs assistance, that sort of thing, then that's a case-by-case basis.
Okay.
But right now we're asking no visitors. And you'll be screened before you come in. You'll be, if you have a temperature, you will be turned away and will not be allowed access. I mean, if you're seeking treatment, you will be allowed access, but not as a visitor. You'll be given an armband so that once you get into the building, our staff will know that you've been screened and you're supposed to be there. But everybody's going to be funneled through that tent through the front of the hospital.
Is that in place today
Yes.
for people that show up today? How long has that been in place?
Since Monday morning.
Have people been cooperative?
For the most part, yes.
Yeah.
Is that in place in Bruton as well?
It is my understanding that it is.
Okay. So don't be alarmed when you get routed to the tent or whatever to be screened. That's just SOP right now.
Right.
And that's the way it's going to be for the foreseeable future until this thing kind of runs its course.
And we're following suit with what other hospitals in the area and across the country are doing. If you look, most people have an outside triage area, and most people are limiting visitors to either none or one, and doing screening before they come in.
I tell you, one of the things that I haven't seen a ton of, I have seen a mention of it here and there, are our healthcare workers and how we need to keep them at the forefront of our prayers. Also, I'm assuming all vacation and time off has been suspended, kind of all hands on deck, or maybe we're moving closer to that anyway. But I mean, if and when this turns into something, whatever it may be, it's going to be an all hands on deck type deal. And that creates a lot of fatigue, a lot of stress, a lot of emotional distress.
Right.
And we certainly are going to keep all of you in our thoughts and prayers in the days ahead, because this is a real deal, and it's going to take smart, qualified, caring people to work us through it as a community. And I have all the confidence in the world in everybody I know in the local healthcare family. So thank you for what y'all do, and we're certainly going to continue to think about y'all moving forward.
I'm trying to figure out, I've always heard this, if you take a Q-tip, put Neosporin on it, and put it inside your nostrils, does that help anything? I mean, I've been told that repeatedly, and I know a lot of EMT people that do that, or they say they do. Maybe they're just talking that. But I've always, I'm not going to lie to you. I've started using and practicing because that makes me think, it makes me feel better.
I have not seen any data to say that, or to advise anybody to do that. And what people have to realize is, we're telling you to social distance 6 feet, also frequent hand washing, and don't touch your T-zone. T-zone being your eyes, your nose, your mouth.
Come in.
Debbie.
Yep. Come on in.
Debbie's here. Hey, Debbie.
Go.
How are y'all?
We're good.
We're good.
We're violating the 6 foot
Come on, right
rule,
here.
but we're going
Got
to,
you.
yeah.
We got you. We got you right here.
Okay.
You want to slide down just a hair,
Sure.
Ashley, and we're going to be violating this whole social distancing policy. But
I can get over
DJ,
there.
come in just a hair.
In?
Yeah, because we don't have that wide of a view. I want to make sure that we at least have you there still. I think you are.
But you're not going to only breathe in the virus. So, you touch something, touch your eyes, rub your eyes. It's allergy season right now. So we're always touching our eyes. We're always touching our face when you eat. So, breathing it through your nose is not the only way that you're going to get it.
Right. There's a lot of ways.
Could you write me a prescription for 1 large pepperoni pizza a day? I think that helps. I had one yesterday. My good friend Danny. Debbie, how do I correctly pronounce your last name?
Gist.
Gist. Debbie Gist. Yeah, we're excited that you're here. Debbie Gist is the compliance officer for the Escambia County Healthcare Authority. Is that correct?
That's correct.
That's what I was given. I hope that's right.
That's correct.
Thank you for being here with us this morning.
Oh, you're welcome.
Here on Drive Time, we're just trying to get out some information, and Ashley's already shared a lot of good stuff with us, trying to get out some good information to our community about this coronavirus, what we can do to safeguard ourselves, what we can do to limit stress on our healthcare facilities unnecessarily. I mean, I'm not, if you're sick, you need to go, but be smart about it, because we do have limited resources everywhere. And the smarter we can be about that, the better I think it'll work for all of us.
That's very true. And I'm sure Ashley's already talked about that one of the biggest factors is limiting the space, our social distancing. Mm-hmm. And that is key. Calling before you come to your healthcare providers, be it if you're attempting to reach your doctor at the office, or if you feel like you're ill enough to come to the emergency room, calling and letting folks know that you are going to be there so that they can make sure that they are prepared and have all of their PPE equipment in place and donned.
This is the $1 million question, and I don't think there's an answer for it really, but I can't get my arms wrapped around it. How long can this go on? I mean, until we can get our arms wrapped around it and really know what we're dealing with here and how we can treat it effectively to get past it. I mean, I know that that's an answer everybody wants, and it may not exist today, Wednesday morning.
I don't think that there's any projections exactly. I think that the United States has taken an approach that some other countries have not taken, in that we are trying to flatten the curve. Mm-hmm. We are trying to make sure that we don't have that peak initially, so that the healthcare resources can be stretched to accommodate the needs of all of our citizens. So how that works and how that projects out into, we don't want to peak now, so that means we're going to have hopefully lower cases, and they may be, more, it may take more time to get through all of those cases, if we're able to limit that initial peak. So I haven't seen any projections. I've heard people discuss 3 months. I've heard other people discuss all the way out to August and September. So I don't know.
How long have y'all been in the healthcare arena as a profession?
Oh, gracious.
25 years.
Okay. Yeah. My daughter's 30, so it would be about 31.
Would you compare this to anything else that you've seen come along, or is this new territory for us?
It's new, but I mean, we all have had several other types of scenarios. We've all lived through SARS, and we've been through some of the other epidemics. Ebola was our last major one that we were all gearing up in the hospitals to be prepared for, which was, that one's quite different. We've had Asian flus, we've had swine flu. So what about you, Ashley?
This might be a stupid question. I don't mean to interrupt, but what's so different? And y'all probably got this question. What's so different about this one versus all those that you just named? We heard kind of the same things about some of those viruses or whatever they were, mm-hmm. but we didn't see anything like this. Mm-hmm. What is so different now than it wasn't about those?
Well, actually, I mean, you feel free, but I know at least for this particular virus, it is a brand new virus, which means that there is no natural immunity. Nobody else has ever been exposed to it. So that means our entire population has no experience. They have no immunity. And it's going to be time. People have got to get it. They've got to get mm-hmm. sick. They've mm-hmm. got to build up the antibodies. And then we will begin to see some more see people developing that immunity. So that's one factor that's really different. Ebola's been around for a while, so that was completely different.
Is this a deal like, if I get it and I have all the symptoms and I get sick and I'm sick for 2 weeks and then I get past it, whether with the aid of medicine or not, could I get it again? Or after your body has gone through it, are you on the right side of it, so to speak? Or is there a way to know?
Right now, they're thinking if it acts like other coronaviruses, that you will have some immunity in the short term, so that you won't get it, soon after recovery. But they're not sure how long that immunity would last.
So the name coronavirus is not indicative to just this particular one.
No.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Well, that's
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that.
It's more like
that's
the name of the family.
And
Okay.
coronaviruses have been around a long time, and people get coronaviruses all the time. They cause colds.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've told me
It's
something I didn't know.
Hey,
It's not a new,
I didn't know that. I thought this was coronavirus, and that's what they called it. But
Okay.
This one is COVID-19, and but coronaviruses have been around a long time. We get them, we get over them.
see, I figured that COVID-19 was the medical terminology for this, and that Corona was for people like me that don't understand all that kind of stuff, and we could just call it something related to a beer because we all know what that is. But come to find out, that's not the case. You learn something new every day. I didn't know that.
But this is the new virus, and that's what's so important
different.
about this one.
The coronavirus, that's just the label for the name of the family, like Smith.
Sure.
The COVID-19 is the name of the individual in the family.
Sure.
John
Gotcha.
Smith.
Gotcha.
So that just narrows it down.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I didn't know that.
When you're preparing as a medical facility, when you were preparing for things like this, and I'm not talking about just in Atmore and Bruton, I'm talking everywhere, is a part of the plan to have a reinforced security team in case you end up with a situation where people just flock to a medical facility? Has that been discussed? Is that part of the planning? Like, okay, if we start having 100 patients a day, more than we're normally having, we need to have some extra boots on the ground, so to speak.
I know that it has been discussed, and we would lean heavily on our local folks to kind of help us out with that as well. I know we are limiting access now to the facilities, and I don't know if y'all have had a chance yet to talk about the visitation policies, but we are limiting visitors.
That's smart.
And we are limiting access so that everybody's being funneled in through one point. And at that point, people are going to be checked as far as a symptom query. Are you having any of these symptoms? And then we're also monitoring temperatures at that access point.
We did understand that is definitely in place at Atmore. Is that in place here at McMillan as well? Well, that's great. And I hope that people will cooperate and understand that it's going to be a little bit more of a process, but it's for the benefit of all of us.
Yes.
I mean, we can't be selfish in this, and if you're inconvenienced 5 minits or 10 minutes, just roll with it.
Or you can't go in the door you normally go in.
Sure.
And we do have security at Atmore for some of the time,
This
some
is
of
good.
the hours.
We do too. We do have a
And-
security guard that's there between certain hours.
I'm glad this came out. Check-in procedures different.
Is that something that you regularly have? Security?
Yes.
On it's not just for
No, it's not just for this.
this issue.
No.
Okay.
But we have discussed having to get
Step it up.
additional if the need be.
Right.
And also, we mentioned no visitors for like our inpatients, but I also want to mention if you're coming for x-ray, if you're coming for a routine lab, your companion, if you bring one with you, will be asked to stay in the car unless it's medically necessary.
That's fair.
We're
I'm a
limiting
fair guy.
visitors as well, but we are allowing at DW McMillan, if someone is in a situation where they have to have a caregiver, if it's an elderly person and they need someone and it's a family member, or if it's a child and it's going to be a parent, but we're limiting access to one caregiver.
I love it. This is good information. This is good information to have out there. I love it.
Somebody asked the question, Aaron Crawford, if we are self-quarantining, how long should we expect to stay in hibernation?
14 days at this point. But then you've got to have, if someone actually has COVID-19, there's going to be a series of tests that need to be done towards the end to make sure that they're negative.
So if you self-quarantine, is that basically that's what they want us to do right now, is it not? I mean, basically stay away from everybody?
Oh, no, that's social isolation. But yes, and they do want people to be very careful about any gatherings where you have multiple people. You don't want to do that, especially if you are in a higher risk category. But when you are actually put on quarantine, self-quarantine, then you are really being asked to stay at home and really, truly
in your
stay
room,
at home.
separate from your family.
And at the end of that 14 days, you've got to go back to and get some more testing from what you're saying.
If you have tested positive, they will want to have tests to clear it and make sure that it is negative.
Okay. Well,
But not every person who is asked to self-quarantine will necessarily have had a test. So self-quarantine, it is still the same length of time, and it's still the same, just like Ashley says, trying to stay away from your other family members. That means you stay in one room. They can roam about the house, but that's the self-quarantine. But if you've had a test and they say, yes, you are definitely positive, you will do that same thing. You will self-quarantine, but towards the end of that, they're going to want to do tests to make sure you're negative.
I've already designated my room at my house for my quarantine room. I call it the red room, but that's where I would go, but I don't get sick. And I'm saying this
winning
in somewhat all honesty. If you needed a guinea pig to come down and have some strands put on them or whatever so you could deal with, I would do it. I promise you I would do it. I don't get sick.
Can I ask, and I'm not, someone asked this question, Jennifer Parker did. Do we have any confirmed cases in Escambia County, Alabama?
We do not.
We don't.
We do not.
And see, that gets out there as bad information, not by Jennifer, but I've seen that.
No,
there are no confirmed cases today, right now, in Escambia County, Alabama.
And the place to go for that is the Alabama Department of Health site, adph.org.
Great.
They update twice a day.
Great.
And will let you know the positive numbers for every county.
Somebody mentioned earlier,
I'm gonna post that.
Somebody mentioned earlier, too, about the heat and its effect, supposedly, on this virus. If that's the case, shouldn't we all be in real good shape around May or June? Because, with 100-degree plus, temperatures that we seem to, is that not true? Is that one of these rumors?
I have not heard that. I've seen people talking about UV light and being outside, but I have not heard the heat
I've heard that too, but I don't know that it's not been around long enough to study and to determine if that is going to be the truth.
Right, right. Well, I have a question myself. How is it that West Virginia doesn't have a case reported, but every other state in the nation?
They do.
Oh, they do. Okay.
They do. As of last night.
Okay, I didn't see that. I was about to say that's hard to believe that, I think a lot of states didn't have reportings because they didn't have testing.
Right,
exactly.
and that's what I was going to say.
Right.
I don't know when they stood up testing for them,
Right. Well, and I was just curious because I saw that and I was like, this was yesterday, maybe 5, 6 o'clock, and I was like, how can this one state not have any, when everybody else does? So
that's great information.
Yeah.
The Alabama Department of Public Health, they update it twice a day.
Yes.
Correct.
For every county in Alabama.
Yes.
Good morning, Joe Beasley.
That has a positive.
Yes.
That's great. That's great.
Yes.
That's where you can go to get good information. I like that.
Yeah,
At the same time, when we do have a positive case in Escambia County, it will be information that is shared by both hospitals.
Sure. Great.
So let me ask it. So once that happens, and it's bound to happen,
Right.
let's all be honest.
It is.
Once that happens, what happens from there? Because right now you got people, let's be honest, you got a lot of people panicked about, things. When you put people in situations they've never been in before, that causes anxiety anyway. And then, everybody's like, do you think we'll ever have a case? Well, if it's like the flu, like everybody, everybody's got a chance to get it, what have you. What happens then? Does, will this whole place go into some sort of hibernation? Be forced to? What will happen at that time?
At the hospital, we'll kind of keep doing the same things that we've been doing with isolating people. I think maybe restrictions will be more strict for the public.
Yeah.
And hopefully people will, if it's closer to home, they will take the warnings more seriously, because I know right now, especially spring breakers and that sort of thing.
I was just about to say,
people are flocking to the beach.
You can't tell it at the
every
beach.
State,
no,
right?
If you look at the beach, there are people everywhere. Just all over. And I saw yesterday where the Floribama decided to shut down that, except for they're still going to sell T-shirts and merchandise, but to see all this happening like that, but yet, and then they show the beaches, and there's just people everywhere. Now, they claim as long as it's just groups of 10 and they weren't close to other groups of 10, And I'm thinking, well, wait a minute. And then the governor of Florida came out and was like, listen, we don't need y'all going to the beach. You know, we basically they're saying they need the younger people to help mitigate some of this spreading.
Yes.
Right.
And I don't know what mitigate means, but it sounded good. I heard him say that.
Well, I didn't want to do it. I shut down the second sandbar until further notice is down. That hurts.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you, that's a big. When you shut that thing down, that's tough.
Yeah.
Yes. When the governor of a state that thrives on tourism says, don't come to the beach,
Absolutely.
It's serious and people need to listen. And what they're not thinking, this is not an at-risk group, the young, but they can carry it back to grandparents, to people that have chronic illnesses. And that's the danger that
Now, I want to ask
they spread it
a real
way.
quick question. How does this affect hypochondriacs? Exactly.
I don't think it discriminates.
I mean, we all know someone that's always,
Yes.
you know what I'm saying? And I'm not making light of that situation. I'm talking about, I got some family members, every time you talk, how you doing? Oh, I've got this going on and that going on. And I'm like, has there ever been a day that you were healthy? Ever? Because of the 46 years I've known you, I don't know if you ever have been, you know. So anyway, I didn't know if it discriminated that way or not. But getting back to the, I saw the governor, I think his name is DeSantis. He even said that kids were piling up at the universities and hanging around the universities during spring break that didn't, like, they think they're doing the right thing by staying around. And he was even saying, get out, get away from that. You know, like, we don't need that either. So, you know, we were all young once and we all thought we were invincible. And I'm going to tell you right now, I've been the first one down in the middle of the group of 10 at the beach saying, I ain't worried about that virus. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that's right. I'm just saying something like, we've just never seen anything like that before.
Absolutely.
Like this, you know.
Absolutely.
So, and that's what makes this so different than everything that's happened in the past. It's just something so new to everyone, and I guess new to medical professionals. If what's it, Dr. Fauci, I think is heading this thing up. You know, and he said, you know, I mean, if you listen to what he says about it, my thing though is this is all, and I know it's kind of counterintuitive what we've been talking about. Is a lot of this overcautious, or is it hyped up a lot by? And I see the media hyping this a lot. Is what I'm saying. And we're trying not to. Like, that's what the purpose of us doing this was, to get good information out there where people can understand. Don't believe everything you see and read on the internet or what have you.
That's true.
You know?
That's true.
Now, I don't know. I mean, my question is, you know, is this somewhat been overhyped? Is it somewhat overcautious? Maybe you can never be too cautious.
I
That's my
read
opinion.
something, by a physician that said, you know, we may not ever know if we were too cautious, but we will certainly know and feel if we didn't do enough.
Right.
Exactly.
So that's
a
why
good
it's
point.
so important to do what they're telling us to do, because if we can stop this, then that's, or slow it down. That is
Our best hope.
yes.
Well, let me ask you this. I'm going to use averages. You got 1.5 billion people in China. And I think they said they've had 5,000-ish deaths, I think. That's pretty good odds, isn't it? I mean, and I don't mean any death is tragic. I don't mean that. I'm saying that should kind of tell the tale of the tape as far as, I mean, we have 80,000+ deaths from the flu in this country every year. You're talking about 1.5 billion people. There's only been 5,000 now reported. Who, you know, that may not be correct. Maybe, I don't know. Yeah. I'm just saying that's a, and if you believe what they put out, most of them had underlying medical conditions and things like that. So, what have we had? 30, 40, 50 confirmed deaths in
I don't
America?
know that statistic. But statistically, it is the death rate is higher for COVID-19 than it is for the flu.
Oh, wow.
So if you
And
look at
different
this,
countries have had different mortality rates as well.
Okay.
So, and I don't think we understand why that's different.
Okay. Well, that's kind of where I was going with that is why is it you hear China this and you hear something different from Italy and you hear something different from Iran and you hear something different from the UK, something different from us. You know, it maybe we're more social people. I don't know. You know, I mean, that's just, I know I've never heard social distancing, and if I never hear it again, it'll be too soon because I've heard it so much in the last 3, 4, 5 days. I just told DJ earlier, this is the new quid pro quo. Like, I don't ever want to hear that word again. Or 3 words, whatever you call it. And I'm like, social distancing, who came up with that? I don't mean it's a bad thing. I'm talking about who came up with that term. I mean, that's like saying, hey, get away from me, and I don't ever want to be around people. We already have a tough enough job with people wanting to text, and they don't interact with each other anymore. You know, people get mad at each other now.
That's true.
If you just speak, and they think it's in some sort of tone because there's no context on a text, and that's the way people communicate. So now we're telling everybody it's okay to communicate that way. Keep communicating that way. By the way, don't come to town. You know, so and my concern there is the local businesses. You know, our concern. You know, we got. You think of the local businesses in Atmore that are affected, and I know there's Bruton that are affected, and all the Flomaton, all the surrounding areas. I know there's government things trying to work out to do this and do that, but still, that's I mean, you know, it's going to be a big hit to a lot of these small businesses
across the nation.
Sure, and I see, you know, local businesses doing things like setting up drive-throughs and, you know, things like that for people to come and be able to still, do business with them. And I know this may be wrong, but I've told people this. I'll say, hey, keep going by, call your order in, go by, pick it up. You know, we need to try to make sure these businesses stay in business. You know, especially with people, you know, that may be displaced or, you know, laid off of jobs or what have you because of all this kind of thing right now. So if there is any light at the end of the tunnel, it looks like gas might be headed to $1 a gallon. I don't know if that's you know, a light at the end of the tunnel or not, but I know for people that buy gas, it probably is, you know, so.
That's true. And when you talk about social distancing, just reminding people that, you know, right now with a lot of church services being canceled and that sort of thing, that the elderly, sometimes that's their only social interaction was that, and just to reach out to those people and
that's a good point.
By phone,
check on your neighbors,
check on them,
that's
because they're prone to depression at times anyway, just because they're already socially isolated, and so. It's really important to think about those people and
help them out.
Yeah,
if
shop
they
for them.
Can't get to the grocery store, assist them.
Somebody commented earlier that East Bruton still has they called it the Meals on Wheels for the senior citizens. That's still working and running. I didn't know they still did that, but apparently they still have that. They're still doing that, so that's a good thing.
Yeah,
I think that. I told somebody the other day, I said, you know, if people had a fleet of vehicles they wanted to, like, you could just go pick things up for people, deliver it to them, and keep a lot of things going right now just by doing that. DJ was talking earlier, or the other day, we were talking earlier about how many volunteer fire departments there are in Escambia County, and a lot of help right there to do things like that. You know, when you talk about checking on your neighbors and helping out, you know, anytime something like this happens, it always seems everybody steps up to help. So, you know, we have a program here called Backpack Buddies, and they feed children on the weekends typically. Well, now, you know, with school being out, they're trying to work out feeding children during the week, and it's just a great thing that they do. I think that's based out of the Methodist Church. Is that right,
That's
DJ?
where it started.
That's
okay.
right.
Yeah.
I do know the sales center in Atmore. We met with the city officials Monday morning, and the sales center, it was going to close for their actual dine-in, but they were still going to have meals to go. They were still going to get those that were homebound or couldn't drive and get those meals to them. So they're still providing meals as well for that area.
Have you found, as you guys have been working through this over the last couple of weeks, have you found the efforts of other agencies and departments to be cooperative? Like, if you got the cooperation you think you needed from the state and the local level? And
Absolutely.
It doesn't always work that way, so I'm glad that we are pulling the rope in the same direction. That's encouraging.
I'm gonna tell you, I knew when things were kind of going off the rails when churches started shutting down, having services. I'm like, I'm gonna tell you something. This thing's took a turn that we haven't seen. I don't know we have seen before. So, but again, I go back to like the swine flu and what was that, SARS, and just all these different things.
I mean, go further back. Think of polio.
Yeah, right. I mean, like,
that was a major scary event too for that era.
But I just don't remember any, and maybe polio. I don't know that I was around when that happened, but I know all the you mentioned earlier. Mm-hmm. I don't remember shutting the world down.
No, it didn't. This is all different, all very new and uncharted.
Is it? Do y'all know this, and you may not? Was this a man-made virus, or is this something that happened naturally, or do they know? And
I've heard those rumors,
right.
but I don't know that. I mean, everything that I have read is saying that that's not supported.
I got you.
Right. Everything I've seen says that it comes from an animal. Coronaviruses are common in different animals, and then sometimes the viruses just mutate and they make that jump to where they can infect humans, and that's the new virus part of this. And so I don't believe those that say it's a man-made bioterrorism kind of.
Oh, I don't mean that. I guess what I was saying, sometimes you hear about things and they say, well, this actually happened in a lab, and then it did this and mutated and all this kind of thing. And I was like, I don't know if that's,
I haven't seen anything to support that.
Me either.
They of course, our government claims that China knew about this back in the fall, and there was really not a lot done. And I'm thinking with all of the parameters that have been put in place now, if those have been put in place back in the fall, do you think you could have kept people out of Jordan-Hare Stadium and Alabama University Stadium?
Probably not. No.
I mean, you'd have riots in the streets.
Yes.
I mean, would you not? I mean, that would have been a bad thing.
More difficult.
Oh, listen, I'm not taking anything away from basketball or baseball or any of that, but everybody better be glad in the state of Alabama that this happened now and not in the fall, because I'm going to tell you, if they come out and shut those two things down, there would be a problem.
Well, I tell you,
I agree.
I think it's still on the table. I've seen from the NCAA website that they're not sure they're going to start in the fall.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I do know Florida schools announced yesterday, I believe, that they'll extend their break until April 15th, I believe. And then it's still to be determined if they'll go back for any of the remainder of this year.
Well, DJ, what did you say earlier?
Last night, Kansas announced all their statewide schools, K through 12, that they're done.
Good morning, JoJo.
Really?
And that's the first one that I've seen.
I think we'll see more of that.
I think the dominoes are possibly going to start falling.
Tippy says world amateurs, I guess that's how you say it, worldometers, I don't know, worldometers.info has a live update on the coronavirus by state.
Mm-hmm.
So, but again, let's say this, no confirmed cases in Escambia County, Alabama.
And we're directing people to the Alabama Department of Public Health site.
Right.
For good information.
Right.
That's where the updates are going to be twice a day. If there's any confirmed cases in the county, it'll be reported. Right. So that's where we're going for good information here for us to bank on. And I said this a moment ago, and my greatest concern through all of it, I think that that it will play out, but we have to be vigilant and smart in how we visit our medical facilities.
Yes.
You don't want to start taxing out your already limited resources. And that becomes a problem in and of itself. And that's why it's so important to have good information out there and to understand, what you need to do. If it's going through a tent, to get in for anything, just do it. It's there for a reason.
Well, you know,
Right.
I mean, there's a lot of, that's one thing that gets lost in the shuffle is the amount of planning that goes on in this instance with our medical community, but it could be something with transportation. I mean, these people don't just sketch it out like you and I do on a napkin. There's planning. There's real conversations.
Right.
They talk about it. They do a lot of what ifs. There's a lot of lessons learned, and they come back and modify those plans on a continual basis. So everything is in place as part of a plan.
And you know, is it not the case with our hospitals, the capacity is what, you know, I think a lot of the reason the overabundance of caution and vigilance on social distancing, I'm saying that word again, but, you know, they claim if we were to have a run on our hospital facilities in this country, that it wouldn't take that long and they'd be maxed.
Yes.
Right.
And then what happens? You know, I mean, DJ says, I saw it last night, 18 states have enacted the National Guard.
It's coming.
18. I don't know, you know, in what capacity, I'm not sure. But at that point, you'd have to have something along the lines of FEMA, the military, something to set up triages and that type of thing. But they go back to ventilators. They say a lot of it's to do with not having enough ventilators due to this being a respiratory virus.
Right, exactly.
So, you know, I think that's one thing, as you all were pointing out, when you're coming into the hospital, you're screening, that type of thing, because you don't need that to happen. But you also don't need to run on, like, we didn't need to run on toilet paper. We didn't need to run on milk or water or the banks and all this stuff. And people just, like, you know.
How many beds are in our two hospitals?
We have 49 beds, and do y'all have about 49 too?
We typically don't operate
like that.
at 49
Okay.
beds, though.
So at best, we have 100 beds.
At best.
At best,
At best.
100 beds.
At best case scenario.
And the county population is 38,000. So, I mean, that just,
And between the two of us, you know, we have limited ICU beds.
oh, I
as
know.
well.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's probably the largest factor across the nation, is that if we don't dampen that
Yes.
peak, then it's going to be a critical shortage of our ICU beds.
That's been my concern from the very beginning, is maximizing or overtaxing our limited resources, whether it's beds, whether it's personnel, whether it's medications or whatnot. And that's why I think it's so important to bring this out today. And I'm going to leave this as my parting shot, so to speak. Be patient, be vigilant. Things are in place for the betterment of all of us. We all are going to have a little inconvenience thrown our way. It's the way it is. But for the herd to move and for the herd to come out on the other side healthy, we have to do this. We do not need to unnecessarily overtax our limited resources. If you're sick, please get medical attention. But just do everything you can to keep from having to tax out these people.
Yeah, I think we mentioned it earlier. If you just have a cold, stay at home.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
There's not any medication that we can give you other than to treat your symptoms.
Sure.
So, if you're young and healthy and have a mild fever and
But no, I read this morning that they were telling people, the CDC, to use ibuprofen, I think it was, and now they're saying do not use it because of something to do with the way it, what they say, the moisture or whatever. They had some big long explanation for it, but it doesn't help it helps a fever or what have you, but I don't think it slows down the virus. I think it slows down your progress of getting over it, is what that article said. I don't know if that's true.
I've not heard that.
Yeah.
That was from the CDC.
I briefly saw something this morning where WHO came out, the World Health Organization, saying that they didn't advise.
That's who it was, not the CDC. That was the World Health Organization. That's right. I saw it, but I didn't get to read all the articles, so I'm not real sure.
I didn't either.
I want to encourage everybody that has watched it this morning with us to like and share this video, and at least encourage people to tune in to the 7 a.m. part of the program. If you don't want to watch the first part, that's fine. But both of you ladies have brought out the information that I was hoping would come out, that I think will help us moving forward, where we can access information, where we are today. I also hope that in the future, as information changes drastically, if it does, that we might could get you to come back at a later time and share where we're at and kind of get a State of the Union, so to speak. But it's been a lot of fun having y'all here and getting this information out.
I do have an 800 number for you
Okay.
that came from the Alabama Hospital Association, that if you feel sick and think you might need a COVID-19 test, you can call this number
I'm gonna
for
post
where to
this.
go for testing.
And
I would
this
also
is what if you
remind
feel
folks
sick.
to check our Facebook page.
And think you
for
might
both
need testing.
facilities.
Y'all are updating those regularly?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, this information goes on our Facebook
Might
pages.
need
And
testing. This is the number you call. If you feel sick and think you might need testing, call this number.
But let's be honest.
that's the state of Alabama number.
If you
That's
feel
not a-
real sick, like if you just somebody pointed this up, my wife pointed this out. I've seen several people. We're in the middle of pollen season right now, and everybody's got hacking and sniffles and all this kind of stuff because of we deal with it every year. You know, I mean, that doesn't mean you've got the corona.
Right.
So, you know, just move on, do what you do, and keep doing what you do. And I think that, like we were talking about a while ago, we don't need a run on hospitals, especially with, like DJ said, with 38,000 people in Escambia County?
Roughly.
And between the two hospitals, we have, in the best case scenario, 100 beds. I mean, that's, you know, we certainly don't need to tax those out.
No.
I mean, that needs to be there for people that truly, truly need to be there. So, you know, if you stay at the house and get over the flu, you stay at the house and get over this. Unless I think you have some other underlying medical issues, then obviously you probably need to, you know, take care of business.
I've got one question along those lines, and I hope this is a fair question. I understand that there are certain legal responsibilities medical facilities have if you show up and are seeking medical attention. Can somebody from across the Florida line or across the county line, if they're in an area where their resources have been maxed out, can they come over and max out what I'm calling hours, even though it's not hours, it's hours? But can somebody from Jefferson County, say Jefferson County gets blown up with it, can somebody from Jefferson County come to Escambia County and check themselves in?
Come
and
to
take
the
them back?
emergency room?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So you take all comers. So it doesn't matter where you're
Yes.
at.
If you present to our ER, then we're going to see you.
Okay.
Yeah.
What does and I'm asking because I don't know, what role does the health department play in this? Or do they play? I mean, I know people that use the health department for different things, you know, medically. What role do they play in all this?
I do believe that it's different in every county.
Okay.
You know, the resources are different. In some counties, they may be assisting eventually with some of the drive-through testing that they're trying to get set up in the state of Alabama. In other counties, they don't have the resources or the personnel to provide that type of support.
This may not be helpful information at all. I'm passing along, and this is kind of what this show does. Raj Palmer is opening a new hotel here in Bruton. It is not opened yet. It's been completely remodeled, rebuilt in most cases. And he is saying that if beds become an issue and if y'all needed to partner up with him, that he is open to that. So you can pass that along to Chris.
I will.
Maybe it's an
I
asset,
will.
maybe it's not. But Raj, thank you
Very
for posting
generous.
That is very
And,
nice.
The public hadn't stayed there yet, so from a sanitized
Put me down for the Star Suite.
hey, and they have the Chasers Lounge. When you get feeling good, go on down and
And they might deliver.
That's right. Thank you, Raj.
Yeah. I was told 151's a great sanitizer.
Yeah.
So, hey, I've spilled plenty of that back in the day. So, you know, that works out. No, I think this has been great. You know, as DJ mentioned, we wanted to get real information out to the public and information that, you know, people can understand. No, we're not sitting 6 feet apart. We're in tight quarters here. This table's only so big and the lens is only so wide. But, you know, at the end of the day, we're going to hear a lot more about that until this is run its course. They said that they started with a phase 1, working on a phase 1 vaccination, I think is what they
I've heard of that. Yes.
put out.
Yes.
And they started human or testing with humans yesterday, I think it was. Is that a good sign? I mean, I'm asking because I don't know how that
Anything
stuff works.
with the development of a potential vaccine is a good sign.
Yeah.
I guess what I'm saying is they would typically test that on animals first, would they not? I mean, if it's already made it to the human phase that fast, that's got to be a pretty good sign.
I think they're expediting everything they can expedite.
So they just said the heck with animals, and they just went straight on to humans. Would that be with somebody that already has this virus, or would that be with testing people that don't have? I mean, how do they go about that?
I don't know how this particular study is set up or is being developed, and I can't tell you for sure that they really haven't done any animal trials.
Okay, right.
But anything and any studies at any of our research facilities that is focused on developing a vaccine is a good thing, and they're pushing as hard as they can possibly push to get something available.
Right. Well, all we can do is be vigilant and try to keep our wits about us and realize that I said this yesterday. People in about a week are going to get stir crazy. Yeah. They're going to be tired of sitting at home and social distancing, which means doing already the same thing most people already do. You know, everybody's time now is really valuable. I was in Walmart not long ago, standing behind. I was in a line of about 10, 12 people. You know, this is back before they had self-checkouts going. 26 registers, 2 of them's open. Okay. And a lady in front of me was losing her mind because none of these other registers. I said, ma'am, this is before you could not touch people. I bumped her. I said, ma'am, I have a question. You got to be back at work? Or she said, no, I want to be at my house in my chair watching TV, and this is slowing me down. My time is valuable. Thinking to myself, she don't have anything to do, and this woman was pitching a fit. I'm talking about like, and so I'm sitting here today thinking, well, now that you can like go online and put down what groceries you want, pull up, and they put them in your vehicle and all that kind of stuff, that thing, you know, that thing will probably get so big with the way it works now, most people may not ever go back to doing it the old way, you know? I don't know if that's a good thing.
One question on here. When you test for it, generally speaking, how long does it take to get the results back on whether it's a positive or a negative?
We're told 72 hours.
72 hours?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, you said y'all send that off.
Yes.
Where does that go?
It can go to different places depending on which lab you're sending it to. I know ours goes to Virginia.
Virginia?
Okay.
I'm assuming they're getting quite a few, or getting more and more every day, I would assume.
Yes.
So we don't have a facility in the state of Alabama that can test for this.
We do.
The state does.
The state does.
The Bureau of Clinical Labs for the state of Alabama.
But you guys don't send the test to them.
There's not a good courier mechanism to get the specimens to them at this point easily.
So you just, how does that work? Y'all load these things up in cases and like send them, like do they fly them? Like, I mean, how does that work typically? I mean, mail or
I'm sure
whatever?
they're flown at some point, but
you just box them and mail them. Is
well,
that?
it's a particular container. It
Well,
has
sure,
to be
yeah,
a
right.
safe container.
Secure.
And we have
it's-
a Quest pickup courier that
Right.
comes to the
Right.
hospital,
Our
picks up
Quest
the
pickup
specimens.
courier for us too.
Right.
So,
Ken and I are employed at Jim Peach Motors. We have a tow truck. If we wanted to load them up on the flatbed, if that helped, it runs 24/7. I mean,
We'll keep that in mind.
Yeah,
Make
another
note of that.
asset. Another asset.
That's right. Can you
Put
do
in your
a
tool
run?
belt. Yeah, put in your tool belt.
That's good information. Piggly Wiggly is delivering groceries, if needed, $50 minimum, no delivery fee.
Wow.
Great.
That's
That's
nice.
awesome.
Great.
That's nice.
That is nice. I mean, I think you're going to see a lot more of that going on. A lot.
And maybe that's one good thing that comes out of this is we've all been kind of self-absorbed lately and all focused on our electronics and phones, but maybe this will bring people together and
It will.
as soon as we can have
As soon
more
as
than
we
10
can get
people.
together.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, we're about to have a gathering in July that's going to bring some folks together, but we don't know if we're going to. Right now, it's up in the air. We don't know if we're going to be able to have that or not.
We have said this many times. and I think it'll show again during this. We live in the greatest community in the world. I mean, we live amongst great people, and it's going to be some tough days ahead, some challenging days ahead, but I think we will do it better than most. And I think that we will handle it.
It always works out that way, or it seems to, and thank you all for coming on.
This was awesome.
You're welcome.
This was,
Thank you for
this
having
was
us.
exactly what I was hoping would happen. Get some good information out there, some good places to go find good information, and to just encourage everybody to continue to take this serious, but just be smart about it and be patient. We'll take a lot of both.
And just
Absolutely.
and remember, if you got the sniffles, and just don't go rushing to the urgent care and the hospital and this kind of thing, because it's not going to help things. Secondly, it's probably going to turn you around anyway, from what I'm, hearing. I mean, the screening process is going to catch most of that, will it not? So, hopefully.
If you present, you'll be seen.
Yeah, right.
But,
right.
Just because you want to come have a test does not mean you're going to get a test.
So me and DJ can't come and video, live stream us being tested.
No.
See, we wanted to do that. What's wrong with that? I mean, we live in a society, everybody's having to watch all this on their phone because they can't come out and do anything. Let us come and volunteer to be guinea pigs, and y'all can show everybody with us how to, look, we showed everybody how to go fish off the Conecuh River fishing pier out there on the $16 million bridge. It's nothing more than a fishing pier in Riverview. We pulled a truck up on it and threw cane poles over, and we started live streaming. Needless to say, we heard from the state about that. But we heard 4 different stories from the state about it.
Yeah, we did.
So we still ain't got to the bottom of that. That's coming too. That's just wait.
Over.
That ain't over.
That's not over.
That's not over. I promise you that. Thank you, ladies, again for coming. And if certainly, like DJ said, we'd love to have y'all back. Maybe in a couple weeks when we've got more information about what.
Sure. As things evolve.
Sure. Instead of 10 people, we're going to be down to 5 or 4 or 3. You have to split up with your family. I'm joking. we're playing. Go ahead, DJ.
Appreciate everybody being in this morning. It was a lot of fun being back with all y'all. Certainly appreciate Debbie and Ashley being here and getting us some good information that we can bank on. Some challenging days ahead, but that's all they're going to be. We're going to get through this. We're all going to do it as a county family, and just be smart, be vigilant, and be safe. See y'all tomorrow.